Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show.
Olá Bom Dia ALEGRIA, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Struggling with a little bit of congestion, some constipación this morning. I hope you're well. I know that Tony the Portuguese is not at all well over this last day or so. So lots of love and hugs, abrazos. No beijinhos for you though, mate. I'm not getting anywhere near you. Speedy recovery. As melhoras there, Tony the Portuguese. Are looking forward to having you back to 100% fitness real soon, mate. So you take care. Right, a nice smattering this morning on the Bom Dia Daily of news, weather, language, culture, well-being. And we're still a little bit light on the well-being. I'm assembling a team of well-being experts, some of whom you already know. But I'd like to have a bit more well-being, particularly with the state me and the Portuguese are in at the moment. Let's have if you are or if you know of a therapist, a medical person of any kind who'd like to contribute daily tips and insight to the show for this section, please send them my way. 913-590-303 is the WhatsApp number, the Munson's mailbag number as well, should you know anybody like that who you can put in touch with me. So let's crack on then. And this morning's news story is about wearing clothes in the Algarve. Quite right, too. Cover up or pay a fine, Portugal's Albufeira warns. And this is the first, I think, we've shared a BBC news article with you. Because what's dominating the Portuguese news at the moment, which we'll return to when Nuno joins us at 8:40 this morning, is the earthquake, of course, and the possibility of continued aftershocks, talking more about how best to prepare and be aware, and what the insurance situation is with Nuno, and of course Raquel joining us at 8:20. Freelancer versus company. What's the best way to start up a company here in Portugal? But if you've got any questions for either of them on any other subject that they specialize in, of course, let us know the question in the chat, and I'll put it to them when they arrive here. 8:20 and 8:40 respectively. Right, cover up or pay a fine. Portugal's Albufeira warns, according to the BBC. Let's take a look at what's going on or what's going off and then coming back on in the Algarve there. Tourists in the popular Portuguese city of Albufeira may soon be banned from wandering its streets in swimwear or face a hefty fine. Hefty, one of those fabulous words used in British journalism, like bungled raid and a hefty fine here this morning. The beachside city in the southern Algarve region, a favorite with you can hear the Britishness in this article, can't you? It could be from a newsreel from many decades ago. Shall I do it in that voice? The beachside city in the southern Algarve region, a favorite with British holidaymakers, has revised its code of conduct, explicitly prohibiting people from being in a state of partial or complete nudity in public areas. Oh my goodness. Under the new plans, anyone wearing a bikini, okay, well, I shall stop it. I won't be doing this by the sound of this. I will not be wearing a bikini or even going without a shirt away from the beach, and you could be fined up to 1,500 euros. Now, if it's true that police officers in Portugal are incentivized to the tune of 10%, I think it is, that's probably quite a good incentive for them to slap a fine on your bare chest there, isn't it? 1,500 euros, 1,200 quid, 1,250. I don't wonder if BBC used Spartan FX for that. See what I did there for that conversion. Albufeira joins a relatively long list of European cities with similar laws, including Barcelona, Dubrovnik, and Nice. Now, it's interesting because I was talking about topless and nudist bathing at the weekend with some of the folks who were here for the party. Not that we were going to do that, but how it seems in Portugal, that craze for topless bathing. It's quite old-fashioned now, isn't it? People don't seem to do that so much. I suppose it depends where you are in the world. The city of Albufeira boasts beautiful beaches and a vibrant nightlife, but its reputation as a party destination has damaged Albufeira's image. Last year, 8 British men, dear oh dear, were filmed dancing completely naked on a bar in broad daylight in Rua da Ora, Albufeira's main party strip. No, yeah, party strip being the operative term here. The videos went viral and Portuguese police were able to identify the tourists. It sparked an emergency meeting with the local, was it probably the hats? Were they still wearing hats? It sparked an emergency meeting with the local councils, security forces and businesses. And Mayor, I wonder what our pal Paolo Fanassi thinks of this. So who was this? Oh yeah, Mayor Jose Carlos Rolo promised to crack down on excessive tourist behaviour. Excessive in inverted commas there. The proposal document in Portuguese. Obviously, BBC. This is disgusting. These foreigners publishing things in their own language. How are we supposed to understand it? The proposal document in Portuguese states that the urgent change is necessary to preserve Albufeira as a multicultural, family-friendly and safe destination. Well, let's hope that those British tourists don't feel picked upon as a minority who like to go naked. It also, I'm joking, it also bans sex acts in pub. What? The proposal document also bans sex acts in public, another local nuisance. The rules extend to terraces that can be seen from public places, and business operators found to have allowed bad behaviour could also face substantial fines. The proposal is currently out for public consultation and could be in place in time for summer. I bet some cheeky rascals are thinking, well, can we see pictures of who's going naked before we decide to ban them or not? Again, just kidding. And this is a bit of a menace, isn't it? It would appear. What do you think of that? Silence so far in the comments. Good morning to you, João Ernesto. The North, Bom Dia Portugal, and Bom Dia Campers from Mike. Good morning to you, Mike. The roads get better the further you travel from Old Town. Oh, yes. Coimbra in a panda. Bom dia, Campos, e feliz carta. Wow! Coimbra is beautiful. We haven't explored yet, but from what we've seen of the Old Town, it's gorgeous. It is through the roads, though the roads are interesting. Glad we only have a panda. Yes, it's good. It's a good job you didn't take your Shogun up there or some massive 4x4. Indeed, says the coach. But we had to drop off our bags or worry about the Porsche driving through there. We had to drop off our bags. You could borrow my old Skoda, not a problem. In fact, Coimbra gets frightened when I drive in and not vice versa. But we had to drop off our bags at our apartment, which is pretty central. All good fun, though. Excellent stuff. Good. Still got your deposit. So what do you make of this? Get wrapped up if you, well, not wrapped up, but put clothes on. You can't go off the beach in your swimwear. I think people do get sort of a bit sun drunk and forget perhaps and like to be naked and semi-clad. But not for much longer, it would appear, if those proposals go through. Very interesting. Okay, so thank you, BBC, for that. Get your kit on, not get your kit off when it comes to coming to Portugal and the Albufeira beaches. Probably the same in other beaches, although perhaps not so much of a problem. Never seen it here. I live in a beach town and never seen such a ruffle or difficulty around such matters. Occasional topless bathers, but really most people do not, in case you need to know. Here in Portugal. Right, really looking forward to this on Thursday coming up. A bit of Portuguese culture for you, a bit of Portuguese history, and looking forward very much indeed to talking to Isabel Stillwell. Now, we're going to be uncovering Portugal's past, the story of Philippa of Lancaster, whose tomb I was nearby a couple of weekends ago when we went to Batalha. She, of course, and her king were laid to rest in the Batalha Monastery. And this is the Expats Portugal, well, I was going to call it a lecture. It's a webinar, of course, and it's not really a lecture. It's going to be a Q&A with myself and Isabel Stillwell on February the 11th. Some of you may remember this, you older gumpers here. 1387, the people of Porto celebrated Philippa of Lancaster, the first and only English princess to become Queen of Portugal, daughter of John of Gaunt. Philippa was proud. I think John of Gaunt, probably a locality rather than his disposition or appearance. Philippa was proud of her Plantagenet lineage, the Red Rose, and became the mother of Henry the Navigator and the illustrious generation. These children would go on to explore new lands, forever changing Portugal's destiny. So look at that. On the one hand, you have Brits dancing naked in bars in Albufeira, and then a few centuries ago, here she is, the Red Rose, the Philippa of Lancaster, contributing towards the gene pool of the Portuguese royal family. Philippa's only daughter and mothering the illustrious generation, Philippa's only daughter would become the powerful Duchess of Burgundy, further shaping European history. 638 years later on, our guest Isabel Stilwell invites you to explore Philippa's remarkable legacy, one of unwavering faith and determination, excellent British values, or English values at the time, right, that had a lasting impact on both Portugal and the world. In this online event, Isabel will show us the places in Portugal, Galicia, and the UK where Philippa's influence can still be seen today. Marvelous. Really looking forward to this one. And I look forward to the webinars every week and the town hall thereafter. But this one, I'm really, really looking forward to finding out more about Philippa of Lancaster with Isabel tomorrow evening at 7:30. Now, this is free for Expats Portugal members. And if you want 10% off the membership, just drop me a line. I'll give you a code. I think if you put GMP when you check out, you'll get your discount. Or you can pay €17. If you're not a member, you can be a guest. Or if you're a free member of the community, you can pay €17 and join that. Or you can sign up and get a whole load of other benefits. And that will be at expatsportugal.com to sign up for that, and you get a free entry to that webinar. So excellent stuff. Looking forward to that tomorrow evening, 7:30. It wasn't Philippa. Oh my goodness, who was it? Who was the one who brought tea? It was Catherine of Braganza. Catherine was the tea lady, although she probably wasn't referred to as the tea lady. Good morning, everyone from Gemini. Good morning. Good to see you. Oh dear. Says Joao Ernesto, we have undergone a change in our A2 class. We had an instructor change, and now our regular 3 hours, ouch, 2 till 5 will often meet for 4 hours from 9 till 1. Yikes, including today. Oh, okay. So, our commiserations. Blimey, a 4-hour class. I mean, they say, don't they, that you can't take much in after the first 15 minutes. So what happens for the next 3.75 hours? I hope you have a few breaks as well. Okay, we've done that. Philippa, it was Catherine of Braganza, that's right, who took tea when she went in the other direction to meet her English king husband. She took tea over there. She was offered gin and beer, I suspect, and said, "No, muito obrigado. I brought my sha here. My sha is with me. Any chance of a brew?" Leela Bugazzi is here. Good morning to you. Forgive me for messing up on your name this morning. Good morning, Portugal, from you, Leela. Good to see you. Excellent stuff. Right. So another date for your diary. Oh dear, is this going to be okay, you can do webinars all the way tomorrow. I have another to share with you, this time from a couple of people. Well, they'll be on the panel who you've seen before on the Good Morning Portugal show. Recently, Martin Harris, the executive director, I think he calls himself, yes, executive director of the United Lisbon International School, and Sheeta Stern, of course, who we've spoken to a number of times, founder and CEO of Martinelli Hotels and Resorts. Together, they'll be with Jeffrey Graham, senior partner at Edge International Lawyers, funnily enough. And they will be together hosting a webinar, relocating to Portugal, and that the trio there, where to stay, the D visas and schools. And now, you know, I talk to a wide range of people who can help you move to Portugal. My advice is to go to as many webinars and to talk to as many people for their first session and see what is a fit for you. That's the important thing, is to find out what works for you and your particular circumstances, because one of the most often heard responses to a question about Portugal will be, it depends. And it often depends on you, and it will depend on the circumstances, and it will depend on if the laws just changed, and it will depend on a whole range of things. So keep up to date, go to as many things as you can, and choose the people, you know, find your tribe. Find the people you vibe with. Find the people who your intuition says, yes, these are the right people to work with. So just go to as many things and speak to as many people as you possibly can, would be my advice to you. But it depends, of course. Right, we've got James here now. Bon dia, Gumbers. The old guy in Europe, that's his YouTube channel. Earlier on, I put in Michael Heron's first video. Of course, the Good Morning España show that we're very proud to be associated with and helping Michael with. He's published his first 5 things I love about Madrid video, which you can see on his Good Morning España channel. Well done, Michael, on that. James, of course, publishing every Friday now. He's a veteran of the YouTube scene. And I also have a group now on WhatsApp, Digital Creators. Most of the people in there are Good Morning Portugal co-hosts. But what fun. We're sharing tips there. If you're a YouTuber or want to become one, you might get some inspiration from being in that group. So drop me a line if you want to be part of that. 913-590-303. Bom dia, Gumpers, says James. Feliz Cata a todos. Como tem passado? Nice one, James. Well done. Keeping up your Portuguese end there. Now, we will talk to Nuno about earthquakes. I look at the Portugal resident and see that Lisbon's quake was classified as moderate, intermediate, or Goldilocks. Not too strong, said João Ernesto a few days ago. And the Portugal News were reporting more earthquake aftershocks are expected in Portugal. The epicenter was Sejal. I wondered if Bobby O'Reilly had broken ground over there and started doing foundations. But no, it was an earthquake out at sea, and its effects felt on Portuguese terra firma. We'll find out more about what Nuno thinks with his Quake take a little bit later on at 8:40, and we've got Raquel joining us at 8:20. Should you be a freelancer or should you be a company when you are doing business, if you're an entrepreneur here in Portugal? We'll be taking a tuk-tuk tour later today with Rebel Mama, or as I've renamed it, a TikTok tour. Absolutely. I do hope you'll be making a video from the tuk-tuk. And please, yes, give Rebel Mama a hug from us. I haven't seen her for a long time here on a Good Morning Portugal show. I think it might be something I said. But anyway, and enough water has passed under the bridge. Big hug to Rebel Mama. Let's have a look at that weather then, shall we? Before we say hi to Raquel, let's go to the Good Morning Portugal website, first of all, and see what the weather's looking like for Portugal for the next week or so. I've not enjoyed looking at the weather just recently, as I'm sure regulars will know. Let's click on that weather button, shall we, and see what's what. Don't forget to request your free copy of Moving Money to Portugal with Spartan. I haven't made that a link. How silly of you, Carl. There is a tab actually on our website. Yeah, currency exchanges. You can see they're under support services, and that will connect you to Spartan. But if you send a message to gmp@spartanfx.co.uk, it's a .co.uk, you'll get that free guide, and you can just open up an account and chat with them about exchanging your dollars or your pounds for euros. Look, there's some sun on the horizon. Saturday, Lisbon, almighty 16 degrees and a little bit of sunshine on Sunday as well. We have had outbreaks and flashes of sun, it has to be said, over the last few days, which has been lovely. Definite signs of spring in the air. Today in Lisbon, 12 degrees currently. It will rise to 18, and it's a bit of a cloudy day. Similar picture in Porto, where it's currently 13 and will rise to 15. Coimbra, Coach, you're going to get 19 degrees, 20 tomorrow. A bit cloudy, not such a bad thing when you're walking up in the highlands of Coimbra and getting a bit hot and sweaty. You've got some cloud cover for that, but you've got some nice, comfortable temperatures of 19 and 20, respectively. I think Leslie will like that. Faro is going to be 17 with rain today, so people definitely putting their clothes on in the Algarve, covering up. 12 at the moment, 17 the high, a little bit of sunshine. Braga, 13 at the moment, rising to 16 today. But as you look at that general weather picture for the next 7 days, not much sun on the horizon. Castelo Branco at the weekend it'll have a sunny Sunday. Guarda, a sunny Sunday as well. But no, we are still waiting for, those days when we look at this map and we think, okay, we don't need to look at this map now for another 3 months because there's only sunshine icons, emojis. I'm going to call them emojis, smiling back at me from this page. Well, let's see how that develops over the next few weeks and months. So there you go. That's your weather and your news this morning. Yes, and if you're going to Albufeira, make sure you take a T-shirt with you, or you might get one of those fines if you don't cover up when you make your way from the beach to the bar or the hotel or walking around town doing some shopping. I do prefer it, I have to say, when I'm in a shop and the beach bathers have put some clothes on when they go into the the shop. I just feels a bit odd, doesn't it, standing in a supermarket next to somebody's bare body inside a supermarket. Call me old-fashioned. Anyway, yes, go ahead. Call me old-fashioned in the chat, if you will. Let's change things up here. I'm going to change from Bom Dia Daily to a Good Morning Portugal, and I'm going to invite your comments further on the screen here, and send them to, as well as pictures and videos, to 913-590-303. Let's give her a nice big round of applause now. Raquel, are you ready there to join us on the screen? Yes, she is. Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Woohoo!
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Am I too loud? No?
No, you're absolutely fine. Your professional podcasting setup is awesome, isn't it? Things have changed quite a lot since those early days.
that you think that there's a professional setup for my podcast.
Well, we get to see a little, vignette, and from what we can see with it, I don't know what's going on in the rest of the room, but I'm seeing
and you don't want to know.
Okay, I am seeing that you've got or you've added to your Dreamcatcher collection. Is that right? Have you been making more or buying more Dreamcatchers?
It's no, I think it's the same one because it's a big one. The thing is probably the flowers here that are adding up.
Well, it's very pretty behind you. Very pretty indeed.
Oh, thank you.
And we must talk about your podcast because you are sharing some marvelous information with people around starting up a business, of course, here in Portugal.
You.
First of all, how are you doing? What's going on for you?
Good. Finally settled down because we were in Finland for a week. So
you were?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, we went to see Santa Claus, right? I had to have a talk with him. I didn't. There was a Christmas gift that I didn't get this Christmas.
Oh, and what happened? What did he say?
We went to Lapland because of the kids, of course.
Yeah.
And he didn't say anything to me. So he was much more concentrated on the kids, which I didn't understand.
That's outrageous.
Fine.
Yeah.
But it was like dreamy. The Heidi story with the heels and everything. Everything is white, all snowy, and the frozen lakes. And we did a reindeer
sleigh ride,
and we fed the reindeers, and there's these little huts in wood with fires inside, and you drink like this hot berries fruit juice. And you eat like these cinnamon cookies or whatever they are. It's like dreamy.
It's like being an elf. It's the life of an elf, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and the Santa Claus village, which is in Rovaniemi, Lapland, is really, really wonderful. So you can spend like 2 days there easy, just looking at things. It's like a mini amusement park, I think I would say. But Lapland is wonderful. We got to cross the Arctic Circle, so we actually were in the Arctic.
Wow.
So there was a day that there was minus 18 degrees with real feel of minus 30.
That sounds awful to me. But,
no, it was great. It was great.
Okay. Right.
Well, you have a lot less. You're a lot less cold than you're here in Portugal.
It's the
inside.
Humidity, isn't it? Inside. Yeah, inside. Yeah, of course.
Humidity, true, and then the fact that nothing is insulated in Portugal. So
don't remind me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very different, isn't it? I think there's cold and there's cold, isn't there? And there are people who are used to dealing with the cold, which makes a massive difference as well.
Everybody's prepared there. Everything is prepared. Every building, every house has heating all over. The malls, every shop, everything is prepared. So you do have a lot of layers, but once you get inside something, you start taking them off, and then it's fine. And then actually, when you don't spend that many minutes like outside, if it's, from the car to the supermarket or whatever, you don't really even need a jacket. That cold breeze really hits you, and it's like very refreshing. So I loved it. Again, like last year, we went to Iceland. I think there's part of some DNA here that's,
what's
belongs.
that about? Yeah,
I have no idea, but I really like it.
You're right. Okay.
There's something here.
Yes, and I'm sure the kids had a lovely time as well. Must have
Oh,
been
they did. Everything, everyone was safe, healthy. I did crash a snowmobile, but that's fine. Other than
Did
that,
you? Well, okay, you were
yeah,
insured, presumably. It happens,
uh,
doesn't it?
sort of.
We'll
But
see.
everything was fine. Everything went fine. We're back, so
Very
great.
good, very good. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, and you're here this morning. We will talk about, among other things, people may have questions, other business questions, or even other aspects of living here in Portugal
Yes.
for people that are around, taxation, that sort of thing, and you can signpost them in the right direction. But our main focus was to talk about freelance versus company status when you're starting here as an entrepreneur. Is it fair to say that people are still continuing to come into Portugal wanting to be here to run their business as a digital nomad or as an entrepreneur?
Yes, and the danger is that a lot of them seem to think that they can continue to do what they were without having any type of structure, business structure here.
Yes.
So wherever their business is created, so outside of Portugal, they seem to think that they can just run it remotely, manage it remotely, and everything is fine, and you don't have to, have any specific business structure here, which is, and we've talked about this, a danger, because Portugal may consider that they have the right to tax, that we have the right to tax, because the effective management of the business is being held from here.
Yeah, right.
The other thing that is happening a lot is people have this idea that freelancing is much easier. And freelancing, I think it's like a wolf in sheep's clothes, right?
Mhm.
Because it may seem a lot easier. You don't have to have an accountant. You may be exempt from VAT for 1 year. You don't. For the first year, you don't pay Social Security. But then every time, I think there's like not one client that I've helped register in the finance that hasn't had trouble keeping up with the obligations,
Right.
with whether it be VAT, or then at the end of the year they don't really know when to start paying Social Security. And mind you, I give them like a whole manual practice, book that they can follow. It is a very intricate system, so it's not friendly at all. And I think that people are not aware of how easily they can get into fines, like 600 and something fines, just because they're not doing something, even if they haven't invoiced a single thing.
Yep.
If they're eligible for VAT, and just because maybe when you registered, you said, yeah, maybe I will have a foreign client, boom, you're not VAT exempt anymore. It's not even a real thing, it's a possibility. And just because you tick that freaking box, you are not exempt from VAT, but you really don't know. And so every 3 months, you have to file the periodic declaration of VAT. And if you don't, they are going to go after you like hounds in hell. And it's right out of the bat, fines of 615 euros without having invoicing a thing. So you
Yes.
haven't received any income and you're already paying, and it's not even tax or Social Security, it's fines.
I heard at the
So
weekend, Raquel, that somebody, yeah, I mean, that is something people need to know about. Absolutely. And at least, I suppose the emphasis here is to not have ignorance as bliss,
uh,
and not to just think you're doing the right thing and hope for the best. It is probably quite a good idea to find out here in Portugal so that you don't get those fines that have been put upon you and even might be gathering interest, and then further fines. And then ultimately to go to the bank to find that your bank account's been frozen, which the government can do here in Portugal. And the other thing, I met somebody at the weekend who'd actually had money taken from their bank account as well.
oh yeah,
They'd had money seized from, and you say, oh yeah, because like you've grown up with that, haven't you? As a reality
yes,
here in Portugal, to British and American foreigners, it's like what?
that's a shocker.
Yeah,
That's a
it's a
good
real
thing to
shocker.
have in mind. I'll
Yeah,
I'll I'll make a note here that that's also another shock, another cultural shock.
it is. It
Yes.
is.
We actually, when I was in the bank, and even anyone can receive this. We've received this as a company. Um, if any employee has any debt in Social Security, the company that they've been working for can receive a notice saying you have to withhold the payment to that person because that person owes us an X amount of money.
Yes, yes,
So do pay us and don't pay them.
yes.
And when I was working at the bank, as you can imagine, we received these by the thousands every day because
Did you?
there's thousands and thousands of bank accounts.
Yes.
And so Social Security, spreads around these notices so that anyone that might have a credit on that person
Yeah.
can seize that credit and pay Social Security.
Incredible, isn't it? Incredible. So there you go. Be
Yeah.
aware of that. Get yourself with some decent professionals. And I'm thinking, how else can we help people? And on the one hand, you can really understand why people imagine themselves sat in Lisbon in a cafe, eating a pastel de nata, drinking a mer de leite or a galao, and looking at the 25 de Abril Bridge whilst they're sat on their laptop, thinking, "This is the life. I'm a digital nomad. I've come to this beautiful city, and I'm going to be a freelancer, and I'm living the dream here." Only to find underneath the surface, this sort of thing is bubbling, and the sometimes the harsh reality of doing business here in Portugal. So, what could we do for people like that? You're doing your best, aren't you, to help and educate people? It might be
Yes.
that some sort of weekly check-in for entrepreneurs, because when you find out what other people have, that's when it really makes a difference, isn't it? When you find out what's happened to other people, and
Yeah.
you get in the company of professionals, you get a better, more realistic understanding. So maybe we need to do some sort of big entrepreneur check-in. Talk to Stuart Noakes at
You
Canopy.
know, I'm in
Yeah,
every event or any thing that anyone comes up with to help. But the way that I uh, started to think about things, I never thought about doing a podcast or having a YouTube channel or whatever, but they're kept, some subjects were so common with my clients, and there was all the same doubts arose every time. And it's not even just that, it's a lot of things when you're creating a company, all the steps that you have to go through, what you have to think about. And so to me, it's much better to have a filter and to give that information to people. I've done this. So with clients that have come to me and say, yay, I want to create a company, I said, okay, just first take a look at this episode and this episode, and then when you're ready, come talk to me, because at least then people are aware of what they will need to do. And they first of all, they save money because they won't pay me a consultation to tell them what they can hear now in the podcast, which I don't mind at all, because it's training and it's knowledge to get put out there. I'm not going bankrupt because of that. I think it's a matter of trust as well. And I'd rather have people with a secure conscience that it is what they want to do, that they won't regret it afterwards. So it's kind of a great filter and a great training before getting to the actual stage of creating a company.
And how far we've come in these last 2 or 3 years. Things that are available for people now. It's wonderful what's changed. So let's keep up that work. All of us working in that way to help people get the best possible experience of coming and working here in Portugal.
For sure.
Virginia's here. Good morning to you, Virginia. Great to see you. Bon dia todos. How interesting that your lovely guest Raquel mentioned in her recent trip to. How do you say that?
Take me.
How do you say that?
Hmm?
How do you say that? That town?
Rovaniemi. Oh, I say Rovaniemi. I have no idea if this is the
I
right.
have no idea at all. You're ahead of me on that. You've actually been there as we're heading there in 2 weeks.
Yes,
Good to see
Rovaniemi.
you,
I
Virginia.
think it's. I mean, I didn't hear them
Rovaniemi.
say anything
Okay, good.
different.
Virginia, Raquel will be delighted if you take her with you.
Please take
Ian,
me.
you are thinking of Catherine of Braganza, Queen with King Charles II. She introduced tea to England as well as marmalade. I didn't know about the use of the fork and that we were such barbarians up until that point. It took a Portuguese queen to educate the British in the use of cutlery, with their garfo use over there. I didn't realize. What did they do? Did they eat their hands before that?
If it weren't women,
Exactly. It took a woman and a Portuguese woman to educate the barbarians of England. We were drinking beer and gin until she took tea over there and gave them marmalade. Isn't it funny? I had marmalade myself this morning, made from kaffir limes, made by I think a Canadian and British combination who now live in Portugal. So this wonderful cultural carousel is in operation. It went it went to England. Now it's come back to me via Canada. And a Brit now living in central Portugal. That's wonderful. And I still ate them with my hands. I didn't eat my toast with a fork this morning. God forgive me, Catherine of Braganza. Nuno will be here soon in a few minutes. There's a nice welcome from the insurance team this morning. And James says, I found a wonderful Portuguese accountant. This is what you need to do. These are the recommendations we need to help me tremendously with all of this. She's great. Gold dust, absolute gold dust, decent professionals within the financial world here in Portugal. Off to there's a British turn of phrase, too bloody early. My 80 language class. That's rather inconvenient, isn't it? Starting at this ungodly hour. Good luck with that. 4 hours of Portuguese. Starting
4 hours?
A 4-hour class, Raquel. I mean, you're Portuguese and you're even saying, "Oh, I say that's rather."
Jeez.
A marathon, isn't it?
There's so much I could say, but I won't.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to freelance versus company then. So briefly, and I know it's definitely one of those "it depends" answers that we were laughing about earlier on, but roughly speaking, some differences, if you don't mind, between freelance and companies setup.
Of course. So the basic difference in terms of philosophy is that when you're a freelancer, you don't create an autonomous body, right? You don't create an organization outside yourself. It's still you. It's still IRS. Everything that you make, it's your own income. It gets put all into a bag. I actually did a demonstration the other day with my water bottle and my glass. So when you're a freelancer, every income gets put into here, right? It's everything. And the reason why sometimes this can be confusing is, let's say you go to lunch with the mate and you split the bill. They pay you to this account as well. Or you may have different separate bank accounts, of course. But the thing is, everything that gets into your financial sphere is your income. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you have a company, you have two different entities, okay? And let's say this is the shareholder. So this is the associate. This is the person that is going to create the company. And they put the share capital in the company. And then this is the company. This money is the company's. It's no longer yours. Right. And then the thing is, when you invoice, the money gets into the company. And the only way that it can come back to the person is either by salary or dividends, but it's the company's. Yes. Okay. So then there's two ways that it will get out of the company. So what we need to think is that when you're a freelancer, there's a huge difference in terms of costs, because depending on the activity, but there's usually a 25% presumption of costs. Okay. So you are getting taxed on essentially 75% of all your income on your IRS tax rate. Now, the IRS tax rate is a progressive tax rate, and it can go up to 48%. Yes. So the bigger the income, the bigger the tax that you're going to pay. And not only that, but you have to think that Social Security is also charged when you're a freelancer with the average of the previous 3 months. So if you have great, 3 months of income, you are going to get slapped later on with a Social Security bill that you may or not be ready for. Because if the next month you don't have really that much income, it's going to be difficult to pay that amount. And because it's all in one bag, it's much more difficult to manage it and to have that discipline of knowing, okay, I've received this huge gig, I've received this huge chunk of money, but I have to know that in 3 months I have to pay Social Security. Let's say that you're not exempt from VAT. I am going to have to pay the VAT. So it really takes a lot of discipline and a lot of control. And these, freelancing usually are, young people, more not so formal people, so they really aren't aware of any of this.
No,
They
right.
think that you get your income and yay, I'm making loads of money, but then they don't understand that there's all of these formalities and all of these filings that you have to do, and then the tax portal is, as you know, is not friendly at all. So it takes some time before you even know how to issue an invoice. So the main difference for me is you're either all alone in this as a freelancer, and because there's no mandatory accountant in that regard, unless it's 300K. It may seem like a good thing at first because that's not a cost that you're going to have. To me, that would be my worst nightmare.
Yes.
To not have someone that is going to tell me, look, you have to do this month, and next week you're going to have to do this, and if you receive that money you received, you have to take aside 23%, and you have to take aside another X percent for Social Security. And I don't see a lot of people with the ability of having this much control.
I agree.
And not be like all crazy with the first money that they receive. And then when it gets time to pay the bill, bye-bye, there's no money. And so with the company, I think that is a bit easier because at least you have one layer of security. You have an added layer of someone that knows what they're doing and that can advise you, who is the accountant. And so
totally agree. We'll come back to this. We need to bring Nuno on. But James saying, two Jameses with some great comments. I've already got a fine for accidentally putting the wrong date, just putting the wrong date for a freelance activity. But getting a reliable accountant is also difficult. Choices. It's true. I'm on my fifth choice. Let's see, which seems to be working out very well, thanks to Raquel. Let's bring Nuno on. He may have something to say about this. Olá, bom dia, tudo bem?
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Great to see you. Oh, you're sounding very. Is that your boardroom at work?
Yes, it's a little room that we have. It's not.
You sound magnificent there. You sound magnificent. Yeah? But the acoustics are perfect. How are you? How are you this morning? Tudo bem?
Pretty well, honestly. And following what Raquel was saying, I totally agree with her. Actually, I think that people need to change their mindset and think on which is the real tax rate that they are getting in the end. So not in the beginning, and people usually evaluate this in the beginning. So in the beginning of the activity, but in the end, what will be the real tax rate that I'm going to have, being as a freelance or as a company? And having Raquel here, well, you have the opportunity to work with someone that knows about this, and it's proactive, because there are professionals, there are accountants that they just receive the bills, and in the end they put everything, and here is what you need to pay to tax office.
That's what I have now. That's what I have. Thanks. Yeah. I'm getting an email to say this is what you're up against. This is what you'll need to be paying. And in some scenarios, shall we ask for this to be broken into installments for you? Yes, please. And that sort of support is really very helpful to be handheld, I suppose, into your obligations or to meet them.
Yeah, but before thinking on all of these, be aware that if you have a company, or if you are thinking on open a company, you need to be very careful regarding what activities you have registered in your company, because this also could avoid or allows you to put some bills in the company. And for these you need one accountant, and definitely you need Raquel.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. This is an interesting and helpful referral. I can refer a great one if you like. Now, this is something that's, I think, useful to talk about for foreigners, because not all accountants are made equal, are they? If you've got, you might have one accountant who's very good at filing somebody who's retired and taking care of their, let's say they've got a US filing to do and they've got a Portuguese filing to do and they're retired. That might be a different accountant to somebody who's handling the machinery of running a business in Portugal, right? To you, Raquel.
Oh, sorry. Yes. And Nuno is absolutely correct. I mean, you have no idea how many people. That's why I always kid around saying that I'm gonna create a fan club for Pedro and TED, because it is so common to have lousy accountants that really don't even take the time to look at their clients, be proactive, as Nuno was saying, and seeing what else we could do, how we can do things. And that's why I say, don't get a cheap accountant, because if you do get a cheap accountant, you're not a profitable client for them. So they're not going to waste their time with you. I mean, they're going to do the bare minimum, and that's fine. When it's exactly as everything, if you pay more for more qualified professionals, for more experienced professionals, of course, you're not paying for the service that may be even the same. You're paying for all of the years of experience for that person to know how not to make mistakes in 5 seconds that the cheap one may not even be aware about. So it is fundamental. It's like one of the most fundamental pieces of any company is the accountant, because it can make or break a business, regardless of how good the product is, regardless of how great the company works. It can still go up in flames because you don't have a good accounting or controlling system.
Yeah, well said. And as a rough guide, and again, creating some very sort of polar opposite, or a sort of a spectrum of good and best practice. You mentioned the freelancer, and we'll go back to our idyllic scene of a digital nomad working on a laptop in Lisbon and eating their pastel de nata and maybe having a cocktail at happy hour, thinking they're living the dream. And they're invoicing. They've just sent an invoice out, and they're thinking to themselves, I shall have that money soon, and what I'll do is I'll spend a nice night in a Lisbon hotel instead of my backpackers hostel, and then I'll hire a car and I'll drive down to the Algarve and I'll spend all of that £3,000. On the other hand, the more careful digital nomad in the other corner of the room might be thinking to themselves, what I'll do is I'll allow myself 1,500 of that, because the other 1,500 may well go to costs, taxes, etc., etc. Would you say that's a rough guide to think of your money as only having 50% of it by the end of it?
That would be a great division, because it will be, it kind of will always be much less than that. So you always have a nice surprise at the end of the month, or at the end of those 3 months. So I would think that is absolutely great. As you know, being if the IRS, it's a progressive tax rate, the more you gain, the more you pay, but also the more you gain. So it's always, it compounds, of course.
Yes.
So does Social Security. So the bigger the base you have to work with, the bigger the space that you have to play around with numbers, I would say. But that would be very, very rational and wise of someone to say, 50% is for a rainy day. And I know that the rainy days are coming because
absolutely.
they come every month. And then just enjoy. And don't forget that you really have to keep investing on the business itself. It's not just you. And that's another thing that when you have a company, you're much more aware of, that you need to invest in the company. You need to invest in marketing, in tools, in training, and this and that. And when you're a freelancer, it's just you. It's like you say, oh, now I'm going to the beach and I'm going to spend the money. There's not a notion of it being a proper business.
Yes.
And so it much easier to people forget that there's a lot of other things that they should be doing with their money if they want to keep growing and if they want to keep their income coming.
Yep. Very good. Okay. So I hope we've made that clear this morning. I'm sure Raquel has, you've spoken a lot of sense there, Raquel, and I hope that's helped with people there. How much is a cheap accountant? The cheapest I've had are the ones who don't charge you anything and just say, I'm happy to just help you out with that.
No, those are the most expensive ones.
In the end, they are the most expensive, and there is no recourse, is there? If they've led, if you haven't engaged somebody who's shown you what to do at certain times, and you go to somebody who's just shown you a couple of random bits, and you end up with a fine, they're not going to be paying that fine. You're going to be paying that fine. So the cheap one can be the most expensive one in the end. We've got a bit of a customer service issue. So, Mr. Esper, I suggest you get in touch with Raquel after the show. Something's broken down there, but I'm sure we can get you connected with Pedro there. I wish Portugal I could pay a small amount a month for an online accountant plus software. Is this going to happen in the way that James is talking about it? My requirements in UK were minimal, was great, even though, like Raquel said, they wouldn't give full attention. It feels like that's what I do in a way. I never meet my accountants. I deal with the accountant's assistants who tell me what to do every month. Yeah. James, maybe you want to drop me a line or get in touch with Raquel. It's not the same as UK or US. No two countries seem to be the same in how they operate these things, but we do have things that approximate to that here, don't we, Raquel?
Yeah. So same here. I don't do anything. In fact, the least that I can do is what I do, because I really don't want to be focusing on things that I'm not the best at, and I don't want to take away my time from my business and generating income and getting clients. And so I do the very least possible. They issue invoices for me. They, salary receipts, all of that. They do tell me if I have to pay or what I have to pay in every instance. And I am not an example, in Casa de Ferreira Espírito de Pau, Carl, I'm sure you by now know what this means, but I'm not the person with the most control, with the most Excel sheets under, with CRMs and stuff. But I do have a sense of control of what I'm invoicing and my costs and all of that, of course. So the fact that you say it's an accountant plus a software, it's kind of true here, because the accountant does have the certified software that works for you to invoice. Yep. And I don't pay for that software. It comes with the bill of the accountant in general. So it is a little bit of that. I don't really do much back and forth with them unless there's some, I can ask them, okay, I want to buy a car. What's my best option? What should I do? What car should I buy? Or, if there's some kind of different expense that I don't know how to handle, or are there any grants now that are open and that we can use? So these are the types of things that I ask them, but the best case scenario is minimum communication. It's where everything flows, and everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone knows their job. And so it goes with, you really don't need a lot of interruptions. You just do your job. You know that they're there to help you, and you get into a flow. So it's not that different from that.
It won't be exactly as you're used to, James Campbell, but it will approximate. The main thing is it will get the job done, and you'll avoid a financial earthquake. Do you see what I did there? It will minimize your financial tremors and seismic activity. So
wow.
Let's talk now a little bit about the earthquake that happened a couple of days ago now, 4.7 on the Richter scale. We'll come back to some more of those questions about freelancing and having a company and how to get the best help. But Nuno, did you actually feel it yourself in the capital?
Actually, I was on this room where I am in this moment with 3 people. We were having a meeting, and during the meeting, just, what is this? Yes, it was. So everything changed.
Wow.
I know that yesterday 2 new little earthquakes were in Seychelles, so from the other side of the river, towards Lisbon.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is it's not if it will happen. It's that we just don't know when and what is how big could be the earthquake. But we are definitely in a zone where earthquakes happen every year, several times. So
Right
there is.
now, did you see Raquel's response there? I think that's the normal response, is it not? I mean, we
No,
do know
no,
we live in an earthquake zone, but that's how
that
people tend to deal with
that
it.
is the same response as people do when they thought on accountants. I don't know whether you should that.
That's
I'm going to follow my
True.
way.
that's human nature, isn't it? Right there. Right. So
Yeah.
you've heard what you should do to avoid a financial earthquake. What should you do? I mean, you can't avoid earthquakes, that's for sure. But how do you best prepare from an insurance point of view, and even from a human point of view? What can we do apart from hope for the best?
From the human point of view, we are not prepared at all.
Oh, okay.
So
We just need to
when
face
this
that fact.
when this happen, we see the news and we can stay scared for I don't know 5 minutes or so, and then we just forget. Uh, no, it's true. It's true. And regarding earthquake, I think that the rate is that 40% of property insurance policies are not covered through don't have the coverage of earthquakes. So knowing that home is usually the biggest asset that families have in Portugal, it could put a lot on risk.
Yes.
Also, and this is something that I heard only a few people talking about. That is when people buy a house, usually do a mortgage. It's mandatory to have a life insurance policy, but only a few insurers in Portugal covers the earthquake risk. So if a earthquake happen and the building, the house falls down, and if the person dies and it stays without the money, okay,
Wow.
because
Okay.
no one, yeah. So it's not only having a life insurance policy or a property insurance policy. You need to be aware if earthquake risk or coverage is covered by the insurance policy.
So some companies will cover earthquake coverage.
Yeah.
Then it is possible, but so
Yes.
it's not considered an act of God. I suppose at a certain scale it becomes impossible, doesn't it? As we saw with the fires in California. But even for on a smaller scale, there is coverage, and you recommend it's worth getting and having that coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right.
It's about managing risk.
Right.
How
Okay.
how are you? Are you a risk taker or a risk avoider? How much risk do you want to take, or just
Yes.
do?
Or just do
We'll
that.
see.
Or in denial.
In denial, the great Egyptian holiday in denial. Being from California, I can say it's much better to have many small earthquakes frequently in a quake zone than none for a long time. Yes, that's true, isn't it? But it's like letters from Finanzas. It's better to have one every now and then rather than a massive one. Okay, and James, it's a reasonable amount. I pay €369, and I don't work. Okay, that's probably for an accountant rather than for earthquake coverage. The thing I've also learned from the Quake Museum is the type of fault line and its location also affects how strong it is. So there's a recommendation to visit the Quake Museum in Lisbon. No, says Raquel on that. Not interested. Okay, so you and your firm will help people, Nuno, right? If they call you and ask to see to double check to see if there's earthquake coverage on their house policy, yeah, you're happy to help with that. That's
Yes,
great.
yes, of course.
Is there anything else you want to say on that? I mean, I think you've basically dealt with
Let,
it.
let me regarding this that you just talked about. That is
Yes.
searching for the earthquake coverage on a property insurance policy is pretty easy because usually it's written earthquake coverage.
Yeah.
On a life insurance policy, you need to read the wording, especially the exclusions that the insurance policy have.
Okay. All right, very good. Do you have? It's like there is a personal army of helpers at Winsurance, but I don't think, and I'm not sure entirely what this means. Does Nuno have his own personal army of people to march like the Marcus de Pombo? Did he make people march around the city? Is that what happened as he was rebuilding the place?
But I'm not understanding the question of James.
No,
Why?
we don't understand you there, James. But I mean, but rest assured, the Winsurance team are an army of helpers, extremely helpful on all matters concerned with insurance. So we're up to 9 o'clock there. Thank you so much, the pair of you. Very helpful as ever on our monthly business insurance and company update here. JMC popping in quickly with a Bon Dia Rapaziada. There. Oh, to simulate an earthquake. That's how you do it. No, I think
Okay.
that's probably not what they do on the lunch hours. Natural disasters, acts of God, force majeure. Yes, that's the that's the sort of wording you're looking at in your policy, isn't it? There, right? Nuno, thank you so much. Really good to see you. You'll be, of course, back for the town hall session tomorrow evening, or members of your team will be not marching, of course, tomorrow evening for Expats Portugal. And Raquel, we'll see you again next month. And
Thank you.
muito obrigado. Have a great day, everybody. And
Yeah.
we'll see you again soon. Nice big round of applause for you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you both. Ciao, ciao.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell.